I'm Barbara Irving, 64 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the greatest love comes from saying no. Have you ever given everything away only to be treated like you're worthless? When my son sold my husband's Rolex, the last piece of him I had left, just to fund his vacation, I thought I'd lost everything. But one phone call from the pawn shop changed everything. "Mrs. Irving, we found something inside the watch. You need to come here right away." Before I reveal what changed my life forever, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly connect with this story. I'm curious where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always wonder about the people listening to my journey. So there I stood outside the pawn shop, trembling not from the Portland cold, but from a gut feeling that my life was about to change completely. 6 months had passed since Tom died. 6 months of waking up in our Victorian house, reaching for his side of the bed, finding only cold sheets. The house felt enormous without him. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, all those empty rooms echoing with 35 years of memories. I'd sit in his study sometimes, still smelling his cologne on his favorite chair, wondering how someone who filled so much space could just disappear. That October afternoon, Michael and Jessica came for their weekly visit. I'd made Tom's famous pot roast recipe, the one Michael always requested as a kid. But when they walked in, I could tell food wasn't on their minds. "Mom, this place is way too big for you," Michael said, looking around like he was seeing it for the first time. His eyes lingered on the original crown molding, the restored hardwood floors. I knew that look. Tom had it when he was calculating property values. Jessica rubbed her belly, though she wasn't showing yet. "We've been looking at houses for months, Barbara. Everything's so expensive. With the baby coming..." She let out a perfectly timed sigh. I noticed her new Hermes bag on the counter. That was at least 3 mortgage payments right there. But I said nothing. Tom always told me I was too soft when it came to Michael. "The market's impossible," Michael continued, settling into Tom's chair like he belonged there. "Even with our combined income, we can't get approved for anything decent, not in a good school district." They'd been married 5 years, and this wasn't their first financial crisis. Tom had bailed them out twice before, once for Michael's failed restaurant venture, once for Jessica's boutique that never opened. "Don't enable him, Barb," Tom had whispered, just weeks before the heart attack. "He needs to learn." But Tom wasn't here anymore. "What if..." Jessica started, then stopped, looking at Michael with those big green eyes. "No, we couldn't ask." "Ask what?" Though I already knew where this was heading. Michael leaned forward. "Mom, you could sell this place. It's worth at least $800,000 in this market. You could buy something smaller, maybe a nice condo, and help us with a down payment. The baby needs stability." Stability. That word hung in the air like Tom's absence, heavy and suffocating. I thought about the nursery upstairs, where Michael took his first steps, the kitchen where Tom taught him to make pancakes every Sunday, the garden where we renewed our vows on our 25th anniversary. "You'd have money left over," Jessica added quickly, "for retirement, for travel. You always talked about seeing Europe." That was Tom who wanted to see Europe. I just wanted to see him one more time. Michael reached for my hand. "We'd take care of you, Mom. You could stay with us whenever you want. The baby would love having Grandma around." Looking at my son's face, Tom's eyes, my nose, I saw the 5-year-old who used to crawl into our bed during thunderstorms, the teenager who cried when his first girlfriend broke up with him, the young man who stood beside his father's hospital bed, promising to take care of me. "Let me think about it," I heard myself say. But I'd already decided. Because that's what mothers do, isn't it? We give everything, even when there's nothing left to give. The next morning, I called Robert Henley, our family lawyer for 20 years. He'd handled Tom's will, knew our finances inside and out. When I told him my plan, the silence on the other end stretched so long I thought we'd been disconnected. "Barbara, I strongly advise against this," he finally said. "That house is your security. Tom specifically wanted..." "Tom's gone, Robert." Another pause. At least let me structure this properly. Protection clauses, shared equity agreement, something. But I knew Michael would see that as distrust. Jessica would call it insulting. Just a simple sale, Robert, and I'll gift them $300,000 for their down payment. Barbara, he sighed. I've seen this before. It rarely ends well. At the closing 2 weeks later, I signed my name 23 times. Each signature felt like erasing a memory. The young couple buying our house gushed about the original fixtures, the clawfoot tub, the vintage doorknobs Tom had restored by hand. They promised to preserve everything. Michael and Jessica found their dream house immediately, a suburban McMansion in Lake Oswego, complete with pool and 3-car garage. During the inspection, Robert pulled me aside. There's an unpermitted addition on this property, he whispered. The converted garage, the deck extension, could be a problem down the line. I looked at Michael's excited face as he planned where the nursery would go. Don't mention it, I told Robert. I'll handle any issues if they come up. Robert shook his head but said nothing more. Lawyers know when they've lost. Moving day came faster than expected. I'd downsized from 4 bedrooms to whatever would fit in Michael's guest room. No, not guest room, Jessica corrected me. The baby's room. You'll be in the bonus room over the garage. The bonus room was really an unfinished attic space with sloped ceilings and 1 window, but it had a bed and a dresser from IKEA. Just temporary, Michael assured me, until we figure things out. I brought 3 suitcases and 5 boxes. Everything else went to storage or Goodwill, except Tom's jewelry box. That stayed with me, hidden in my suitcase. His father's cufflinks, his college ring, and the Rolex. The watch I'd saved for 2 years to buy him for our 10th anniversary. He wore it every day for 25 years. Mom, you're being so amazing about this, Michael said, hugging me in the driveway of their new house. Dad would be proud. No, I thought. Tom would be furious. But Tom wasn't here to protect me anymore. I had to believe Michael would. That first night in the bonus room, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling was too low, the window faced a streetlight, and I could hear every car that passed. Around 3 a.m., I crept downstairs for water and heard Jessica on the phone. The plan worked perfectly, she whispered. She actually thinks she'll be living here long term. A laugh. Please. Once the baby comes, she'll be too much trouble. We'll find her some senior living place. Michael's already on board. He just doesn't know it yet. I stood frozen in the hallway, water glass trembling in my hand. Through the kitchen window, I could see the moon reflecting off their new pool, purchased with money from my 35 years of memories. I climbed back to the bonus room and opened Tom's jewelry box for comfort. The cufflinks were there. The college ring, too. The Rolex was gone. I told myself Michael had moved the watch for safekeeping. Maybe he'd put it in their safe. But when I asked him the next morning, his face went through 3 distinct expressions: surprise, guilt, and finally, annoyance. Oh, that old thing? He didn't even look up from his phone. Mom, I needed money for our anniversary trip to Cabo. Jessica's been stressed about the pregnancy. You sold it? My voice came out as a whisper. It's just a watch. Dad's gone. He doesn't need it anymore. He finally looked at me, and his eyes were cold. Besides, you gave us everything else. What's one more thing? One more thing. The watch I'd worked overtime at the hospital for 2 years to afford. The watch Tom wore to Michael's graduation, his wedding, to every important moment of our lives. Where did you sell it? Some pawn shop downtown. Got $1,500 for it. He said it like he'd done me a favor. Look, Mom, stop being so dramatic. It's done. Jessica walked in then, her silk robe swishing. Even at 7 in the morning, her makeup was perfect. What's all the noise about? Mom's upset about Dad's old watch. She rolled her eyes. Barbara, you need to stop living in the past. It's not healthy. She poured herself orange juice, fresh squeezed, of course. Could you make breakfast? I'm craving your French toast, but use the organic bread and make sure the eggs are pasture-raised. That became my life. Wake at 6 a.m. to make breakfast. Clean while they worked. Laundry. Grocery shopping with a list, Jessica texted me, always with specific brands I'd never heard of. Dinner at exactly 6:30, or Jessica would complain about her blood sugar. "Mom, could you not use the living room when we have guests?" Michael said one evening. "It's awkward explaining why you're here, explaining why his mother was there, in the house I'd helped buy." 3 weeks later, they announced the pregnancy to their friends with a catered party. I wasn't invited to the announcement. Jessica said it would confuse the dynamic, but I was expected to serve appetizers and clear plates. "Barbara's been such a help," I heard Jessica tell her friends, loud enough for me to hear from the kitchen. "Though between us, she's getting a bit needy. Old age, you know. We're basically taking care of her." Taking care of me. I was 64, not 94. I still ran 3 miles every morning when they let me leave the house. That night, after cleaning up from the party, I sat in the bonus room and opened Tom's jewelry box again. At least I still had his cufflinks, his ring. These small pieces of him they hadn't taken. I held his college ring up to the light, remembering how proud he was when he graduated, first in his family to get a degree. The next morning changed everything. "Mom, we need to talk." Michael stood in my doorway. He never came up to the bonus room. "Jessica's pregnant with twins." Twins? My heart jumped despite everything. Tom had been a twin. "We're going to need the bonus room for a home office," he continued. "I'll be working from home more. You understand, right?" "Where would I go?" He shifted uncomfortably. "The garage is heated. We could put a bed out there, just until we figure out something more permanent." The garage, where they kept the lawnmower and old paint cans. "Michael, I sold my home for you." "And we're grateful," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But things change. You have to adapt, Mom. Dad would understand." No, Tom would have thrown Michael out on his ear. Tom would have protected me. But Tom was gone, and I was alone with strangers who wore familiar faces. That afternoon, while they were at work, I looked up the pawn shop where Michael sold the watch. Portland Gold and Silver Exchange. I called, not expecting much. "Ma'am," the owner said after I explained, "that Rolex is still here. Your son never came to get it, but you need to come down. There's something you should see." 3 months passed before I could get to the pawn shop. 3 months of being Jessica's unpaid servant. She'd text me orders from the same room. "Bathroom needs cleaning." "Start dinner." "My pregnancy vitamins are in the car." Never please, never thank you. The baby shower was the breaking point. Jessica invited 40 guests to celebrate the twins. She hired a party planner, a caterer, and a photographer. But guess who was expected to set up, serve, and clean? "Barbara, make sure you stay in the kitchen during the party," Jessica instructed that morning. "We don't want to confuse people about who's hosting." I wanted to scream that I was hosting. In the house my money bought, carrying plates my labor paid for. Instead, I nodded and tied on an apron. During the party, I heard everything from the kitchen. Jessica's friends cooing over gifts, discussing nursery plans, praising Jessica's pregnancy glow. Then I heard my name. "Is that your mother-in-law?" someone asked. "Unfortunately," Jessica laughed. "She's been so difficult since Tom died. We had to take her in. She couldn't manage alone. Honestly, it's like having a child already." "You're so generous," her friend replied. "Not many people would sacrifice like that." Sacrifice. They were living in an $800,000 house because of my sacrifice. "Between you and me," Jessica continued, voice lowered but still audible, "we're looking into assisted living facilities. Somewhere she'll get the care she needs." Care I needed? I was the one caring for everyone else. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. That evening, after cleaning up 40 people's worth of mess, I collapsed on the bonus room bed. My back screamed, my feet throbbed. At the hospital, I'd worked 12-hour shifts and felt less exhausted. Michael knocked, a rare courtesy. "Mom, we need to talk about the garage conversion." "Already?" My voice was flat. I had no fight left. "The contractor's coming Monday. You'll need to move your things this weekend." He paused. "Also, Jessica thinks it's best if you don't join us for Thanksgiving. Her family's coming, and it might be awkward." Thanksgiving. Tom's favorite holiday. The one day he insisted the whole family be together, no exceptions. "Where am I supposed to go?" He shrugged. "Maybe Robert could invite you? Or you could volunteer at a soup kitchen. That might be nice, actually. Giving back." Giving back. As if I hadn't given everything already. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I went downstairs for water and heard them talking in their bedroom. "She's becoming a burden," Jessica said. "The way she mopes around, talks about Tom constantly. It's depressing." "I know," Michael agreed. "But she's my mom." "Who chose to sell her house. That was her decision. We don't owe her anything." "You're right. After the twins are born, we'll find her a place. Somewhere. Affordable." Affordable. Code for somewhere they could forget about me. I crept back upstairs, my chest tight with something between rage and grief. In the bonus room, I pulled out Tom's jewelry box, needing to feel close to him. The cufflinks caught the streetlight through the window. His college ring felt warm in my palm. Then I remembered the pawn shop owner's words. "There's something you should see." The next morning, while Michael and Jessica slept in, I took the bus downtown. The Portland Gold and Silver Exchange was squeezed between a tattoo parlor and a Vietnamese restaurant. The owner, Mr. Chen, a man about Tom's age with kind eyes, recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Irving, I've been hoping you'd come." He pulled out a familiar blue box. "Your husband's Rolex Submariner, 1978, right?" I nodded, my hands shaking as I touched the watch. "Your son brought it in 3 months ago, but when I opened it for appraisal..." He carefully opened the case back. "Look." Inside, barely visible, was something that shouldn't be there. A tiny USB drive, no bigger than my fingernail, sealed in waterproof coating. "Your husband was clever," Mr. Chen said. "This is specialized work. He wanted to make sure only the right person found this." "How much to buy it back?" $1,500, what I gave your son. But Mrs. Irving..." He leaned forward. "Whatever's on that drive, your husband went to great lengths to hide it. Be careful." I wrote the check with trembling hands. Tom had planned something. Even dying, even knowing what was coming, he'd thought ahead. He'd protected me in the only way he could. Walking out with the watch, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. And for the first time since his death, I heard Tom's voice in my head, clear as day. "Time to fight back, Barb." I didn't go back to Michael's house immediately. Instead, I found a quiet corner in the public library and carefully extracted the tiny USB drive from the watch. My hands shook as I plugged it into one of the computers. A single video file appeared, for my beloved Barbara. Tom's face filled the screen. He was in his study, our study, looking directly at the camera. The timestamp showed 3 weeks before his death. "Barb, if you're watching this, it means I'm gone, and things have gotten bad with Michael." His voice. God, his voice. I had to pause, overwhelmed. When I could breathe again, I continued. "I know you, sweetheart. You'll give him everything. You'll sell the house, give him the money, convince yourself it's what I would want, but it's not." He leaned forward, and I could see how sick he already was, though he'd hidden it from me then. "Michael has problems, Barb. Problems you don't know about." The video continued for 20 minutes. Tom explained everything. Michael's gambling debts he'd secretly paid. The money Jessica stole from her previous employer that Tom had quietly returned. The lies, the manipulation, the pattern of taking advantage. "But here's what they don't know," Tom said, a small smile playing on his lips. "Remember my life insurance policy, the one from my first job at Boeing? I'd forgotten about that, a small policy from 40 years ago. I never told you, but I kept paying into it, increased it every year. It's worth $2 million now, Barb. $2 million they know nothing about." He held up documents. "It's in an irrevocable trust. You're the sole beneficiary and trustee. It can never be transferred, never be touched by anyone but you." $2 million. I had to replay that part 3 times. "The lawyer handling this is Patricia Winters, not Robert. He's too close to the family. Her card's in my old briefcase, the one in the storage unit. Unit 47B. Combination is our anniversary." He paused, his eyes serious. I also documented every transaction, every bailout, every lie. It's all here, encrypted on this drive. Insurance, if you need it. Then came the part that broke me. I know you're hurting, baby. I know you feel alone, but you're stronger than you think. You ran an entire hospital ward for 30 years. You raised our son, even if he forgot what you taught him. Don't let them diminish you. Don't let them erase who you are. The video had more: account numbers, passwords, detailed instructions. But the last part was just Tom, talking to me like he used to late at night. Remember what I always said? You're not just a mother, Barb. You're Barbara Ann Irving, force of nature. The woman who organized a nurses' strike and won, who learned to invest and tripled our savings, who saved my life every day for 37 years. His voice cracked. I'm sorry I have to leave you, but I'm not leaving you helpless. Fight back, baby. Fight back smart. The screen went dark. I sat there crying in the public library, not caring who saw. Then I pulled out my phone and called the number Tom had given me. Patricia Winters, a crisp voice answered. This is Barbara Irving, Tom Irving's widow. Mrs. Irving. Her voice warmed immediately. I've been waiting for your call. Can you come to my office today? 2 hours later, I sat in a high-rise office downtown, looking at documents that changed everything. The trust was ironclad. $2 million, accessible only to me, generating nearly $100,000 a year in interest alone. Your husband was very specific, Patricia said. He wanted to make sure you were protected. He also left this. She handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter in Tom's handwriting. Barb, use this wisely. Not for Michael, not until he learns. For you. You gave enough. Time to take it back. All my love, Tom. P.S. Check out the real estate development plans for Lake Oswego. Cascade Corporation is buying up the whole neighborhood. Might be useful to know. Cascade Corporation. I knew that name. They'd transformed 3 Portland neighborhoods already, buying out homeowners for premium prices. But only if the houses met code. Unpermitted additions were deal breakers unless someone with 30 years of real estate experience helped them navigate the issues. Patricia, I said slowly, I need you to help me set up a consulting company, quietly. She smiled. Your husband said you'd say that. I have the paperwork ready. Walking back to the bus stop, I felt different. Not happy. I was still living in a garage, still being treated like dirt. But I wasn't helpless. Tom had given me weapons. Now I had to decide how to use them. The Rolex on my wrist caught the afternoon sun. For the first time in months, time was on my side. I stood there, holding that tiny USB drive that weighed more than my whole world. Have you ever had a moment where 1 second changes everything? If you've been there, hit that like button. And if you want to know what I did next, make sure you're subscribed because this next part, well, let's just say Tom taught me more about strategy than I ever realized. I know some of you might think I should have just forgiven and moved on, but when you've been pushed to your breaking point, sometimes the only way forward is to push back. What would you do in my shoes? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Now let me tell you about the boldest move I've ever made. The next morning, I moved into the garage without complaint. Let them think they'd won. While Michael and Jessica celebrated their victory, I was planning mine. The garage was worse than the bonus room. Concrete floors, no insulation, a single bulb for light. They'd thrown an old mattress in the corner and called it done. But I didn't care anymore. This was temporary. I called Patricia from the garden shed where I couldn't be heard. I want to reach out to Cascade Corporation. Can you set up a meeting? Already done, she said. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. The CEO, James Morrison, is very interested in your background. My background: 30 years in hospital administration before retiring to care for Tom. But before that, I'd worked in real estate, helped Tom flip our first 3 houses. I knew building codes, permits, zoning laws, knowledge that never really leaves you. That night at dinner, Michael announced they were going to Cabo for a baby moon. 2 weeks, Jessica added. We need to relax before the twins arrive. You'll take care of the house, won't you, Barbara? Of course, I said mildly. They left 3 days later. The moment their car disappeared, I called Robert Henley. Robert, I need you to pull the original inspection report for Michael's house, the one that noted the unpermitted additions. Barbara, what are you— Just send it to me, please. The report was damning. The garage conversion, the deck, the second-story addition, all built without permits by the previous owner. Michael knew because I'd told him, trusting he'd fix it. He hadn't. My meeting with James Morrison went better than expected. Cascade Corporation was planning to buy the entire Lake Oswego development, 20 houses, including Michael's. The problem, James explained, is several houses have code violations. We need someone who understands the local permit office, can navigate the bureaucracy. I can do more than that, I said. I can tell you exactly which houses have issues and how to approach the owners. His eyes sharpened. You have inside information? Let's say I have intimate knowledge of one property in particular, 4247 Riverside Drive, Michael's address. That's one of our target properties. The owner's been difficult. He'll be more flexible soon, I said. The city's about to start enforcing code violations in that neighborhood. I heard it from a friend in the permit office. A friend I'd cultivated with a single phone call and 30-year-old favor. James leaned back. Mrs. Irving, how would you like to be our local consultant? $150,000 for 6 months' work. $200,000, I countered. And I want first option to buy one of the original Victorian houses you're restoring on Oak Street. You know about the Oak Street project? I smiled. I know everything about Portland real estate, Mr. Morrison. My late husband made sure of that. We shook hands. My first paycheck would come next week, $50,000 up front. While Michael and Jessica lounged on a beach in Mexico, I got to work. I filed an anonymous complaint about code violations on Riverside Drive. I knew exactly how to word it, which departments to copy, which inspector to request. Then I went to see the Victorian on Oak Street. It was perfect. Smaller than our old house, but beautifully restored. The owner, going through a divorce, needed a quick cash sale. I'll take it, I told the realtor. Cash. Close in 2 weeks. Don't you need to see the inspection report? I trust my instincts. Those instincts, and the $100,000 Tom had hidden in a separate account Patricia just revealed. By the time Michael and Jessica returned from Cabo, everything was in motion. They walked into a house with a bright orange notice on the door. Code violation warning. Response required within 30 days. What the hell is this? Michael called me, panicking. I was in my new office at Cascade reviewing property files. Oh, that! The city's cracking down. Didn't you get the notices they sent months ago? What notices? The ones I'd intercepted and thrown away. Check with Jessica. Maybe she forgot to mention them. The beauty was, they'd blame each other. Michael would blame Jessica for not handling the mail. Jessica would blame Michael for not fixing the problems earlier. Neither would suspect the old woman living in their garage. Mom, we need your help. You know about this stuff. I wish I could, I said sweetly, but I just started a new job. I'm consulting for a real estate company. Didn't I mention it? The silence on the other end was delicious. You have a job? At your age? Age is just a number, Michael. Your father always said that. I hung up and looked at Tom's picture on my new desk. How am I doing, baby? I whispered. I swear I could hear him laughing. Monday morning arrived like Christmas. I watched from the garage as the city inspector pulled up at 8 a.m. sharp. Michael was still in his pajamas when he answered the door. Mr. Irving, I'm here about the code violations. We'll need to inspect the entire property. There must be a mistake, Michael stammered. No mistake. We have detailed reports of unpermitted additions, the garage conversion, the deck, the second-story bathroom. You have 30 days to either bring everything to code or demolish the illegal structures. Jessica appeared, hair in curlers. This is harassment! We'll sue! The inspector, a no-nonsense woman named Carol, whom I'd worked with years ago, didn't even blink. That's your right, ma'am, but the violations stand. Here's your official notice. After Carol left, Michael called me, voice shaking. Mom, you have to help us. The contractor says it'll cost $300,000 to fix everything. $300,000. Exactly what I'd given them for the down payment. I wish I could help, I said, organizing files in my beautiful new office. But all my money went into your house, remember? Can't you talk to someone? You know people. My connections are 30 years old, sweetheart. I'm just an old woman, remember? Too needy, too difficult. Jessica grabbed the phone. Barbara, stop being petty. This is your grandchildren's home we're talking about. My grandchildren, who I wasn't good enough to eat Thanksgiving dinner with. Jessica, I'm at work. My boss doesn't appreciate personal calls. My boss, who was currently bringing me coffee and asking my opinion on 3 more properties. Work? She spit the word like it was dirty. What kind of job could you possibly have? I'm a senior consultant for Cascade Corporation. We're buying properties in your neighborhood. In fact, we might be interested in yours if you're looking to sell. The silence stretched so long I wondered if they'd hung up. You're working for Cascade? Michael's voice was barely a whisper. They're the ones trying to force everyone out. Force? No, sweetheart. We make very generous offers. Of course, the houses have to meet code. Otherwise, the offers are adjusted. I could hear Jessica in the background. She's sabotaging us. That bitch is sabotaging us. I have to go, I said pleasantly. Important meeting. Good luck with the repairs. That afternoon, James Morrison called me into his office. Barbara, you were right about Riverside Drive. 3 owners have already reached out about selling. Make that 4, I said. My son will be calling soon. He raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. That's why I liked him. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Michael and Jessica unravel. They got 3 contractor estimates, all between $280,000 and $350,000. Their savings were gone, spent on vacations and Jessica's shopping. The mortgage payment was crushing them without my contribution. Meanwhile, I closed on the Oak Street Victorian. The day I got the keys, I stood in the doorway and cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. I had a home again, my home, that no one could take away. No one. I hired movers to get at my things from storage while Michael and Jessica were at work. The furniture Tom and I had chosen together looked perfect in the Victorian. His chair by the fireplace, our bedroom set in the master suite, the kitchen table where we'd shared 37 years of mornings. That evening, Michael called again. Mom, we've decided to sell. Can you arrange a meeting with Cascade? Of course, darling. I'll set it up for tomorrow. And Mom, you can move back into the house. The real house, not the garage. Your old room. Too little, too late. That's sweet, Michael, but I've made other arrangements. What arrangements? I bought a house. I move in tomorrow. You what? With what money? My salary, my savings, the trust your father left me. What trust? Dad didn't have any money. Oh, my sweet, greedy son. Your father had more than money. He had foresight. We'll discuss it tomorrow at the meeting, I said. That night, I couldn't sleep, but not from worry, from anticipation. Tom had always said I was too nice, too forgiving. Sometimes, Barb, he'd told me once, people need to face consequences, even people we love, especially people we love. I packed my few things from the garage while Michael and Jessica slept. On their kitchen counter, I left a note. Meeting at Cascade Corporation, 10 a.m. Don't be late. I also left something else, a photo Tom had taken of me at my retirement party from the hospital. In it, I'm surrounded by colleagues, holding a plaque. Barbara Irving, Senior Administrator, 30 years of exceptional service. Let them remember who I really was. Not the servant they'd created, but the woman who'd run departments, managed millions in budgets, negotiated with unions. The woman their father had married. The woman who was about to teach them the lesson Tom couldn't. The Cascade Corporation conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Portland. Michael and Jessica arrived 15 minutes late, looking haggard. The twins were showing now, and Jessica moved carefully, but her designer dress couldn't hide the stress eating at her. "Where's Mom?" Michael asked James Morrison. "Mrs. Irving will join us shortly. She's finishing up another acquisition." Another acquisition. I loved the sound of that. I walked in 5 minutes later, wearing my best suit, the one I'd worn to Tom's funeral, now repurposed for my resurrection. Michael's jaw dropped. "Mom, you look professional?" I took my seat at James's right hand. "Shall we begin?" James opened the folder. "Mr. and Mrs. Irving, Cascade is prepared to offer you $420,000 for your property." Jessica gasped. "But we paid $800,000. "That was before the code violations were discovered," James explained smoothly. "The cost to remediate is $350,000. We're actually being generous." "This is robbery!" Michael slammed his hand on the table. "It's business," I said quietly. "You have 3 options. Fix the violations yourself, accept our offer, or let the city condemn the property." Michael stared at me. "You did this. You reported us." "The city received an anonymous complaint. These violations were always there, Michael. You knew about them when you bought the house." I pulled out a document. "In fact, I have the original inspection report where you initialed next to each violation, acknowledging you were aware." His face went white. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You'll accept Cascade's offer. You'll have enough to pay off the mortgage and walk away with about $20,000. Enough for a rental deposit somewhere." "You're throwing us out?" Jessica's voice cracked. "While I'm pregnant with your grandchildren? I'm giving you the same consideration you gave me. Business, not personal. Isn't that what you said when you moved me to the garage?" James cleared his throat. "There is another option. Mrs. Irving has authorized me to make an alternative proposal." I nodded for him to continue. "Mrs. Irving owns a rental property on Oak Street, a restored Victorian. She's willing to rent it to you for $3,000 a month." Michael laughed bitterly. "We can't afford that without jobs." "Then I suggest you find jobs," I said. "Like I did, at 64, after you told me I was too old and useless." "That house," Michael's eyes widened. "That's our old house. You bought our old house?" "I bought my old house. The one I sold to help you. It's mine again, free and clear." Jessica started crying. "This is cruel. We're family." "Family?" I stood up. "Family doesn't steal watches. Family doesn't treat mothers like servants. Family doesn't plan to dump their parent in a cut-rate nursing home. We never—" "I heard you, Jessica. The night of the baby shower. Every word." The room went silent. I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Yes, I'd learned to record on my phone. Jessica's voice filled the room. "She's so pathetic. Once the twins are born, we'll ship her off somewhere cheap. Michael's already on board." Michael turned to his wife. "You said that?" "Don't act innocent," I said. "You agreed with her. I have that recording, too." James stood. "I'll give you folks some privacy. Mrs. Irving, the papers are ready when you are." When he left, Michael slumped in his chair. "Mom, please, we're sorry. We'll change." "I know you're sorry. Sorry you got caught." I pulled out one more document. "This is a letter from your father. He left it with the trust documents." Michael read it, his face crumbling. Tom had been blunt. "Michael, if you're reading this, you've hurt your mother badly enough that she's had to use the nuclear option. I'm disappointed but not surprised. You've been taking advantage of her kindness for years. I hoped my death would make you step up. Instead, you stepped on her. Your mother is the strongest woman I know, but even she has limits. Whatever she's doing now, you earned it. Learn from this. Become the man I tried to raise or lose her forever. The choice is yours." Michael was crying now. Real tears, not manipulation. "The offer stands," I said. "Take it or leave it. You have 24 hours to decide." I turned to go, then stopped. "Oh, and Michael? I got the Rolex back. Your father hid something inside it for me, something that changed everything. He knew, you see. He knew what you'd become, and he made sure I'd be protected." "Mom, wait." 24 hours, I repeated. "And if you take the rental, it comes with conditions, therapy, financial counseling, and Jessica gets a job. Those aren't negotiable." I left them in that conference room, overlooking the city Tom and I had built our life in. In the elevator, I touched the Rolex on my wrist and whispered, "How'd I do, baby?" I swear I felt him squeeze my hand. 23 hours and 55 minutes later, Michael called. "We'll take your offer. he said quietly. All of it. The house sale, the rental, the conditions. And Jessica? We're having problems. She wants to fight you in court. With what money? I asked. And on what grounds? Everything I did was legal. Every document legitimate. Your father made sure of that. She's moving back to her mother's house. She says I have to choose, her or you. For a moment, my heart ached for him. Then I remembered the garage, the stolen watch, the casual cruelty. That's not my choice to make for you, Michael. Mom. His voice broke. I'm sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Actually sorry. Dad's letter. He was right. I became someone I don't recognize. Sorry is a start. Change is what matters. We met the next day to sign papers. Jessica wasn't there. Michael looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 days. She filed for divorce, he said. Says I'm choosing my mother over my family. Your mother is your family, James Morrison observed. Your first family. As Michael signed the sale documents, his hand shook. Mom, can I ask you something? I nodded. How much was the trust Dad left you? $2 million. He dropped the pen. 2 million? Your father worked his whole life, saved, invested. He wanted to make sure I was protected, from everyone, even you. Especially me, Michael corrected, and for the first time in years, I saw honesty in his eyes. After the papers were signed, I handed him the keys to the Victorian. It's furnished. Your old bedroom is exactly as it was when you were 17. You kept my room the same? I'm your mother, Michael. That never changes. But being your mother doesn't mean being your victim. He stood to leave, then turned back. The twins, will you still want to see them? Of course, but on my terms, as their grandmother, not their nanny. 2 weeks later, I was in my garden, Tom's garden, really, restored to its former glory, when Michael knocked on the door. Mom, can we talk? He looked better, cleaner. He'd shaved, gotten a haircut. I got a job, he said. Property management. The experience with the house, oddly enough, helped, and I started therapy. Good. Jessica's been calling. She wants to reconcile. What do you want? He sat on Tom's bench, looking so much like his father it hurt. I want to be better, to deserve this. He gestured at the house, the garden, me, to deserve you. That's a start. Would you come to therapy with me? Family counseling? I thought about Tom, what he'd want. He'd want his son back, but not at any price. Yes, I said, but I have conditions. Anything. You pay me back, not all at once, but monthly, $1,000 a month until you've repaid the $300,000. That'll take 25 years. Yes. He laughed. Actually laughed. I'll be 63. And I'll be 89 if I live that long. It's not about the money, Michael. It's about accountability. He nodded. What else? You tell the twins the truth when they're old enough. All of it. How you treated me, how I fought back, how we rebuilt. They need to know that actions have consequences, even in families, especially in families. That's fair. Hard, but fair. Your father always said life's not about fair. It's about what you do with what you get. Michael stood to leave, then pulled something from his pocket. I almost forgot. The pawn shop owner, Mr. Chen, he said to give you this. It was a small card with a handwritten note. Your husband came in monthly for years, adding things to that watch. He said someday you'd need what was inside. He was a smart man. You're a smart woman. Be happy. That night, I sat in Tom's chair, wearing his Rolex, looking at our photo albums. Michael at 5, covered in birthday cake. At 10, with his first bike. At 18, heading to college. At 25, marrying Jessica. Where had we gone wrong? Or was this always going to happen? My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Mom, therapy is Wednesdays at 3. Can you make it? I texted back. I'll be there. Then another text. I love you. I stared at those 3 words for a long time, then typed, "Love isn't just words, Michael. Show me." "I will. I promise." Promises. Tom had kept all of his, even from beyond the grave. Now it was Michael's turn to learn what that meant. Right then, looking at my son's text, I saw that 5-year-old boy who used to hug me during thunderstorms. Being a parent never gets easier, does it? If you're a parent, hit that like button so I know I'm not alone in this struggle. And if you've ever had to set boundaries with family, type boundaries in the comments below. I want to hear your stories. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, because the ending of this story might surprise you. Now let me tell you about the hardest decision I had to make. 6 months into therapy, Michael had become someone I recognized again. Not the 5-year-old who needed protection from thunderstorms, but the man Tom had hoped he'd become. Jessica had the twins in September, 2 boys. She named them Thomas and Robert, after Tom and her own father. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. "She wants you at the hospital," Michael told me over coffee in my kitchen, our old kitchen, now mine again. "What do you want?" "I want my sons to know their grandmother. Their real grandmother, not the servant Jessica tried to create." I went to the hospital, but on my terms. Visiting hours only. No overnight stays, no unpaid babysitting. When Jessica tried to hand me a dirty diaper, I handed it back. "I'm their grandmother, not their nanny. Would you like me to show you how to change it?" She looked shocked. The old Barbara would have jumped to help. The new Barbara, Tom's Barbara, had boundaries. "You've changed," she said accusingly. "No, Jessica, I've remembered who I am." The divorce was finalized a month later. Jessica got custody, Michael got weekends and paid support. She moved back with her mother, who ironically ended up doing all the childcare Jessica had expected from me. Michael thrived in the structure. His job grew into a career. He paid me religiously every month, $1,000, transferred on the 1st, with a note. Installment 3 of $300. Thank you for the lesson. I used the money to start a fund for the twins' college. Michael didn't know. He'd find out when they turned 18. My work with Cascade expanded. I became their senior consultant for the entire Pacific Northwest. At 65, I was making more money than I'd ever made at the hospital. James Morrison tried to promote me to vice president. "I'm too old for corporate politics," I told him. "You're too smart to waste on just consulting." "I'm exactly where I want to be." And I was. My Victorian was perfect. My garden bloomed. I had friends, real friends, not just people who needed things from me. I joined a book club, started taking pottery classes, even went on a few dates with a widower named Frank from my grief support group. "Tom would want you to be happy," Frank said over dinner one night. "Tom made sure I could be," I replied, touching the Rolex I still wore daily. One Wednesday after therapy, Michael stayed behind in my garden. "Mom, can I tell you something?" "Always." "I hated you for a while. When you exposed everything, took everything away." "I know. But you didn't take everything. You gave me something back." "What's that?" "Self-respect. For the first time since Dad died, I don't hate who I see in the mirror." We sat quietly, watching the sunset paint the sky pink and gold. "Do you think Dad would forgive me?" I thought about Tom's letter, his video, his careful planning. "Your father loved you enough to make sure you'd face consequences. That's real love, Michael. Not enabling, not excusing, but believing someone can be better." "Is that why you did it? Because you believed I could be better?" "No," I said honestly. "I did it because I deserved better. Your becoming better was a hoped-for side effect, not the goal." He nodded slowly. "That's actually more meaningful. You chose yourself." For the first time in 64 years, yes. The twins started visiting regularly when they turned 1. Michael would bring them Sunday mornings. We'd have pancakes, Tom's recipe, and I'd tell them stories about their grandfather. "Grandma," Thomas would squeal, reaching for me. "Gamma cook," Robert would demand. "Grandma loves you," I'd say, "but Grandma has boundaries." They were too young to understand, but Michael did. He'd watch me with them, loving but not sacrificing, giving but not emptying myself, and take notes. "You're teaching them something Jessica and I never learned," he said one Sunday. "What's that?" "That love doesn't mean losing yourself." 3 years passed. The twins grew. Michael matured. Jessica remarried and moved to California. She sent Christmas cards, but nothing else. I turned 68, still working, still strong, still wearing Tom's Rolex every day. Frank and I traveled to Europe, the trip Tom had planned for us. I sent Michael postcards from every city. Standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, I thought about the woman who'd lived in that garage, who'd been told she was useless, who'd almost believed it. That woman was gone. In her place stood Barbara Ann Irving, mother, grandmother, consultant, survivor, force of nature. 5 years after that day in the pawn shop, I stood in my garden watching Michael push his sons on the swing Tom had hung from the oak tree 40 years ago. "Higher, Daddy!" Thomas squealed. "Me next!" Robert demanded. Michael caught my eye and smiled, his father's smile, finally untainted by greed or manipulation. He'd paid back half the money he owed me, never missing a payment. I'd saved every penny for the twins. "Mom," he called out, "Jessica's getting remarried next month. She wants to know if you'll come to the wedding." "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should do whatever brings you peace." Peace. Such a simple word for such a hard-won prize. I sent Jessica a card and a check for $500. Polite but distant. The boundaries held. Frank joined us for dinner that evening. He'd become part of our rebuilt family. Understanding his place wasn't to replace Tom, but to add to what we'd recovered. "Barbara's teaching a seminar next week," he told Michael proudly. "Real estate investment for seniors." "Mom, that's amazing." "Your father always said I should teach what I know." After dinner, while Frank and Michael cleaned up, yes, Michael had learned to clean, I sat in Tom's chair with the photo album. There was a new picture now, Michael and me at his 5-year sobriety celebration. He'd finally admitted the gambling problem Tom had hidden from me. "I'm proud of you," I'd told him that day. "I'm proud of you too, Mom, for not letting me destroy you." The doorbell rang, interrupting my memories. A young woman stood on my porch, looking desperate. "Mrs. Irving? My name is Sarah. I heard you help women who've been taken advantage of by their families." Behind her, I could see a car packed with belongings, 2 small children in car seats. "My son convinced me to sell my house," she continued, tears starting. "He said he'd take care of me, but now his wife is pregnant and—" I knew this story. I'd lived this story. "Come in," I said, opening the door wider. "Let's talk about boundaries." As I made tea for Sarah, I glanced at Tom's Rolex. 8:47 p.m., time for new beginnings. Michael found me in the kitchen later. "Who was that?" "Someone who needs to remember who she is." He hugged me then, a real hug, not the manipulative embraces from before. "You're going to help her, aren't you?" "I'm going to teach her to help herself." "Like you did with me." "No, Michael, I had to break first. Her, I can catch while she's falling." That night, after everyone left, I stood in my bedroom, our bedroom, looking at Tom's picture on the nightstand. "We did it, baby," I whispered. "We saved him. We saved me. We saved us all." The Rolex caught the moonlight, its face reflecting the time, 11:47. In 13 minutes, it would be tomorrow. Another day to be Barbara Ann Irving, force of nature. Another day to live on my terms. I wound the watch carefully, the way Tom had taught me. Some things were worth preserving, some traditions worth keeping, but only the ones that didn't cost you yourself. "Sometimes the greatest love," I said to Tom's picture, "is knowing when to say no." The clock struck midnight. Somewhere across town, Sarah was probably crying herself to sleep. Tomorrow, I'd teach her what Tom had taught me, what life had forced me to learn. You can love someone and still protect yourself. You can be a mother without being a martyr. You can forgive without forgetting. You can rebuild without repeating the past. And sometimes, just sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find out what you're really worth. And that's how I learned life's most valuable lesson at 64. If my story touched your heart, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Do you think I was too harsh with Michael? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want to hear more stories about strength, survival, and second chances, don't forget to subscribe. Remember, it's never too late to reclaim your life, never too late to demand the respect you deserve. Be your own force of nature.